You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the January 24th meeting of the Michigan City Sanitary Board. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesstheportecounty.org.
Welcome to the Board of Commissioners meeting for Wednesday, January 24th. I'm going to call it to order and ask for the roll call, which will be Holt Edinger.
Present.
Chris Yagowski. Present. Tim Warner. Present. And Tim Smith is present, so all members are present. You guys should have a revised agenda. So the next thing on the agenda is election of board officers. I'll ask for nominations for president, secretary, and vice president.
I'll like to nominate President Miller to continue on as president of the board. I nominate Tim Smith as president.
I second the nomination.
All in favor?
Any discussion?
Aye. Any discussions? Okay. Vice president, ask for motion to for vice president nominations.
Go ahead.
I nominate Tim Warner to be vice president.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Or any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Secretary, I will nominate Holt Edinger as secretary.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So Tim Smith is president, Tim Warner is vice president, and Holt is secretary. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
We accept.
Be careful. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. All right. So approval of our minutes from the January 4th, Thursday, January 4th, 2024 meeting, which was our December 2023 meeting. We just had to postpone it till January 4th. Is there any discussion on any corrections on the minutes?
Yeah, there are some corrections and some things that need to be adjusted, so I recommend that we hold off until around our next meeting on the 9th.
Okay.
That's in fact when it's going to take place, or at a future date to make those corrections and get them updated, as some things were discussed that didn't happen that need to be omitted.
Okay, great.
Anybody else?
I'll second tabling that.
Okay, there's a motion to table the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes have been tabled to the next regular meeting or special meeting. All right, so Dan, come up and give us some good news today.
Okay. First.
Oh, sorry, Dan.
He's jumping the gun
Yeah, I
again.
am. Well, Dan was standing up.
I didn't say you. Dan was jumping.
Item 5 is public comment. Any public comment? Any public comment? Any public comment? Seeing none,
Okay.
public commenting is closed. And Dan, please come up. No, go back for a minute.
Okay, all right. What am I gonna do?
Whatever you do it carefully.
Just do it, yeah.
Be safe. Be safe.
As I fall out of my chair.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, folks out there in TV land. I'm making all that noise right here on the good news. No injuries in December. I covered that before. And to date, in January, no injuries, which I think is extremely commendable, considering all that they've been doing with the weather. So just very, very good work, that's being done.
That's great news.
Particularly mentioning the refuse department, Chris Carter and I had a conversation today, and I think he's doing a very good job about, looking at what the employees are doing, keeping a close eye on, fatigue, other things like that. making sure equipment's in good shape, and ready to, to operate for the day. And just making adjustments throughout the day to make sure that the employees are working safely, and that they're taking just an awful lot into consideration. Other departments are doing that as well, collections, maintenance, just doing an outstanding job. So, alrighty, so more good news. If you look at the first page of the information I have for this month, it's from General Insurance Services, and they provided us with a 5-year summary. And on the 5-year summary, we see that our number of cases are going down, and also the costs are going down, obviously. And then I have a summary on the next page. If you look at the refuse department and the review of the GIS table at the top of page 2, from years 2019 through 2022, the refuse department had an average of 13 claims per year. And then the total cost there, with an average of $197,862 for the period of 19 through 22. Then in 23, we had incurred cost of projecting incurred cost of $147,218. That's a 25% less than the 4-year average, and a 48% reduction from 2022. So we are going, everything's going in the right direction, and I think it's just, the great effort that's being done out there in the field by supervision and all employees. If we look at water reclamation, it's a good story there as well. For the years 2019 through 22, we have an average of 8 claims, total cost of $116,047, an average of $29,012 for the period of 19 through 22. And then you look at 2023 incurred cost of $3,878. That's an 87% reduction, or less than the 4-year average, and 70 or 65% less than 2022. So, again, going in the right direction. We just need to, we're shooting for 0. So that's what we would like to see. If we move on to page 4. I have 16 pages. Would you like me to read all 16 pages in great detail today?
That's okay.
Oh, okay. Then
Yes.
I'll continue with a summary. So in December, it was a very busy month. We had a number of elements to check on our risk management program for the disinfection system. That also includes process safety management elements. If we look at number 1 at the bottom of page 4, this is the annual certification that the general manager has to make, saying that all the disinfection procedures are up to date and current. There are 9 procedures in maintenance and operations that are impacted by this. The largest procedure is 33 pages in length. So we're looking at quite a bit of information that has to be certified. So everything has been updated, and the general manager certified that on the 26th of this year. Typically, we do this every December. So next, the periodic evaluation inspection of control of hazardous energy procedure. That's a mouthful. Basically what that is, that's verification per OSHA requirements that we've performed an evaluation of our lockout tagout procedures. And so in the disinfection system, and it ties back into procedures, whenever we shut down for wintertime for the effluent disinfection, we have to shut down the system and make sure that we control the energy sources. And so I performed that inspection with the help of Joe Plunk, who is a maintenance mechanic. We examined everything, found a number of areas that were commendable, a few very minor items that had to be corrected. That was done immediately, and so that task was accomplished. You'll see on page 9 where you say, well, lockout, tagout. Typically we use locks and tags, as the name implies. But OSHA allows us to use other means as lockout devices. So in the case of disinfection, we use the disinfection valves, we use heavy-duty zip ties, and that's allowable by OSHA as long as it has a tensile strength of over 50 pounds, and our heavy-duty ties have a tensile strength of 120 to 150 pounds. So taking a look at number 3, this disinfection process safety and security access controls. We're required by OSHA and EPA to make sure that our security and safety systems are in place. And I performed the inspection on that, again with the help of Mr. Plunk. And we looked at everything in the disinfection system regarding security and found everything to be in very good shape. And I have that documentation there. And already moving right along, last but not least, we have 1 new mechanic and 4 shift operators, wastewater treatment shift operators, that needed to have the process health and safety considerations, safety functions training as required by EPA and OSHA. And what this is what we need to do here is to make sure that they understand and that we verify that they understand the training information that's provided, the information that's contained in these procedures. So we do that with providing them with the procedures, safety data sheets. We have some chlorine release modeling data. They have to interpret that on, that's one of the quiz questions. It's a 54-question quiz. And so the scores came out quite well, as you see there in the report. Very proud of their effort on that. I follow up with them, sit down with them individually in some cases to review some of the questions that they may have missed and make sure that they understand, the material accurately and properly. Okay, moving along. This is the last item. Moving along to page 15. During the month, we also certified and recertified 8 employees on front end loader and 20 employees on backhoe loader. And so you can see the photographs that we took on the practical evaluation, a couple photographs there. Basically what that entails, they have to go through, on the certification part, they have to go through the classroom instruction, they have to complete a quiz successfully, then they go out with and perform certain skills, and we evaluate those skills in the field. You can see with the front end loader, they have to go through a chicane or an S-shaped obstacle course. We put some obstacles in the way there. That's what the chair is all about. So they have to
drive. Your chairs were harmed in the process.
They have to drive through the S curves and everything, and they also have to then back through it. And if they strike a cone, they have to repeat that. And so we put the chair out there just from time to time to see as they're backing to see if they actually see the chair. And so that's part of the test as well. And then, of course, loading a dump truck with backhoe, using both the backhoe function and the front end loader function for that. So it's pretty detailed, takes quite a bit of time to do that, but it gives us some assurance that the employees know how to operate that equipment safely. And so that's essentially it. Are there any questions?
Seems like a good report. Thank you.
Yeah. It's very-
My pleasure.
I want to mention that I'm grateful that you did not bring and provide a quiz for the entire board as you did 2 or 3 years ago to help us.
I started
And I'm
to.
grateful for that.
I started
So
to.
thank you for that.
Well, that would take an additional 3 hours. So all those folks and, here looking in may not appreciate that.
And we may have a lot of dead cones and chairs.
Most likely. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan. Really appreciate your report. Okay, we are, at number 8 says financial report, Scott Kistler. The only thing on there today is we have the new insurance bid and proposal. So, and then we also have the salary resolution. So Charlie, I'm gonna ask your team to come up, if you would, please. And so just so the board knows, we have a special meeting on the 9th that we talked about, it'll be announced later on, but I wanna just, 9th.
4 p.m.
Yeah, 4 p.m. Yeah, thank you. And so Charlie is gonna go through the insurance and we'll go ahead and vote on it on the 9th, just to give you guys some time to look at the new rates and everything like that. Go ahead, Charlie.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Kind of go through our annual executive summary here. Please stop me if there are any questions. I'll keep it fairly high level, but happy to get into any detail that you wish to get into. So, second page just outlines general insurance services scope of insurance, or I'm sorry, scope of services. That's unchanged from last year's presentation. Page number 3 is just our service team, myself, Matt Weber, Stacy, and Jan are all the folks involved with the sanitary district account. Page number 4, so we get into specific loss detail. So this is non-work comp related losses, 7-year loss analysis. If you look at the, each 7 years is broken out individually, but if you look at the total line at the very bottom of the chart, 49.71% loss ratio. So it simply means that you roughly paid, they paid out half the premium that you paid into in claims. Okay. Obviously 2017 was an outlier there. Yeah. Having said that, 2023 is still a green, what we call a green year. Claims may develop on things that happened prior year. In fact, we have one claim that's open. If you look at that reserve column, the third column to the right, 12,500 is an open reserve, which means the claim isn't completely closed yet. So there may be more that develops from that. Any questions on losses?
Anything, guys? Okay.
Okay. 2024, next section, 2024 market review. So these are the markets that we approach. So these are basically the viable markets for utility and special districts in the state of Indiana. Travelers, HCC, Cincinnati, Zurich, Liberty Mutual, and Brit. We approached all of those carriers, and the outcome is on the right. Obviously, Travelers is your incumbent carrier, which is what we're recommending.
Well, it doesn't look like we have another one to recommend.
We don't. I mean, you know.
You kind of go into that about municipalities. I talked to Mike a little bit about it today, but municipalities, a lot of insurance companies are no longer covering. They're
Correct. Yeah. So special districts tend to be fairly stable. So for you guys specifically, where we're seeing a lot of issues in the municipality world is kind of the law enforcement side of it.
okay.
And you can see that nationally, right? You see it on the news, and there's a lot of attention drawn to that, and they're being very overly scrutinized. So obviously underwriters are paying some big losses on those things. So it's really tightened up the market. And one thing that does affect the sanitary district, heavy trucks. So industry-wide, not just in the sanitary district world, but any heavy auto exposure, the market is tightening up extremely because just the cost of accidents when they take out a bunch of cars, they're expensive.
Yeah.
So, good question. Thank you. Moving on to page 5, cost summary. So 2024 cost
Charlie,
summary.
before you move on,
Sure.
just for the public, people might see this, when it says declined, does that mean you declined or the insurance company declined?
That means the insurance underwriter declined.
To provide a quote?
Correct. So 2024 program cost summary. Package and crime, expiring premium 256 324, renewal premium 281 711. That represents a 9.9 increase from the expiring, and roughly half of that is exposure and half of that is rate. And the majority of the rate is from the property. So our property markets with all the natural disasters, hurricanes, not just obviously in Indiana, but all across the country, reinsurance is driving a lot of property rate increase. So that is way below the average increase that we're delivering over the last 12 months. I'd say that average is about 8 to 9%. So we feel that's favorable. And then exposure increase is just a combination of increased budgets, increased coverages, which we'll get to here in a second. Any questions on premium summary?
So, and Scott's not here. Mike, I don't know if you know this question or not, but, we're currently doing an asset management plan. Does that, help you? Does it matter, once we get that finished to send it over to you that, it may, go ahead, Holt.
If it's gonna increase our premium, no.
Yeah, that's, I agree, yeah. But I'm just asking the question,
Yeah.
then you're gonna know what our assets are. I'm sure you have a good handle on them now, but I just, so, you have everything.
Yeah, absolutely, that'd be helpful. And does that include the treatment plant?
Everything.
It's gonna include everything.
All assets.
So buildings and structures and everything. Yeah,
We have
that
some
would be-
updated information potentially,
Yeah, that'd be super helpful.
probably for next year, right?
Because it's not, the uniqueness of the treatment facility, it's very hard to just dump that information into a computer system that spits back a number. So any type of appraisal or asset, we'd be super interested in that.
So, besides accidents and things like that, are there any discounts on, any awards or anything like that? Because you say it's kind of a unique field. Any awards or anything like that the state or the federal government, when we do our reporting and, we have our audits, I'm sure our audits help you out too.
Yeah, so that stuff all goes into the underwriting of it.
Okay.
Is there per se a specific credit for those things? No, but your loss experience speaks for itself.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the main thing underwriters look at: dollars in, dollars out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, good question.
Okay. Anything else from anyone?
It's probably fair to say that if we had similar losses and expenses from that equal to 2017, that you'd probably have quite a bit higher premium, and we would have quite a bit maybe harder to get covered, but even more so than now, because the last 6 years have been
Yes.
beyond stellar.
Yes.
We had 6, Charlie, you went out to 6 markets, companies, and we only have one, our current one, that gave you, a bid on it.
Correct.
The other 5 declined.
Right.
So, I also want the public to know that we're we're not just shopping it to one company, we shopped it to 6 and 5 of the 6 declined.
Right. Yeah, unfortunately, being a public entity, the premiums are public information, so every underwriter knows the premium.
Yeah.
So you can't really, and so,
Pretty straightforward, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And Travelers is a fantastic market. Just saying from claims experience, we've had a few hiccups here and there, but go back to HCC days, it's way, way better than that. I know that's hard to quantify other than we deal with them on a day-to-day basis, and I think that's meaningful.
Okay.
So,
All right, if there's no other questions, thanks, Charlie. Like I said, we're gonna vote on this on the 9th of February.
okay.
And then, if it's approved, then I will go ahead and sign the letter to you guys.
Okay.
You already have that prepared.
Is our coverage due to lapse on what date?
It's March 1st.
March 1st, Yeah, so that's why I figured I'd give the board a chance to look it over, think about it, and, then we can vote on it, because it is a big budget item for us, so I just want to make sure that everyone has their questions.
And about looking for another option.
Yeah, I did that one year. I won't issue it.
Appreciate that.
Mr. Smith, just for the record, there's also the cyber liability protection.
Oh, thank you.
That's attached to the, there we go.
It's included. It's included in this. Yes.
I just wanted to make clear, so that's also something that's required.
If any of the commissioners have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and happy to meet or whatever you'd like to do. So
Great. Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Have a good evening.
Sorry, yeah.
Thanks, Pat.
Thanks. Yeah.
It's artificial intelligence.
All right, so the next financial matter we have is the 2024 salary resolution. So we are going to, because the comptroller needs to get the salary increase in for the next pay cycle. What we're going to do is we're going to table the longevity pay and also the vacation pay till the 9th, when we will also approve a couple other salary issues. So what I'd like to do, I don't know, Mike or Steve, who's going to present this to us right now, the resolution and the...
Mike, I'll be glad to. Would you please? Thank you.
Okay. What you have before you is a very simple 6% salary and wage increase from 2023. There's nothing else changing in here from last year.
Okay, and we determined the 6% because...
Because we like to follow the city's policies.
Okay, I just want that
Yes.
stated for the record that we're in parity with what the city has done.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any questions from any members? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask for a motion. We don't have a resolution number on here, Steve. Is there supposed to be a resolution number? I'm just asking you.
It will need to be filled in.
Okay, so then how I will ask for approval on this will be the approval of the 2024 Sanitary District salary resolution for the Sanitary District of Michigan City.
And a 6% increase.
Thank you. And a 6% increase. Do I have a motion? Can I get a motion?
I have a question. I see a couple
Sure.
discrepancies here.
Yeah. Yep. What we're going to do, I think, on that, because Scott isn't here, we're going to table the discrepancies on the salary resolution and get Scott to clear those up. Unless you have, I mean, we can go ahead and discuss it just so we have it right now, Chris, if you want. Okay.
I mean, you're just gonna give authorization to the controller to give 6%.
6%.
But these numbers,
These numbers-
the numbers you're submitting to them.
Yeah. Yeah, Scott's got a,
There's no resolution number, so we can't.
yeah, Scott's got to, I think, clarify a couple of those numbers that we had. So, I mean, I think, you know, if you have a question on there, then we need to,
3-1.
yeah.
Type it.
So, I think what we need to do is just maybe have one of these sheets and then make sure that, to ask Scott to look it over and make sure that it's 6%. If that's okay, and then,
I'm just showing two discrepancies. One being the, I can just mention it, would be the financial manager.
okay,
Looks like there's a typo of 3 instead of a 1 for, it should be 3,181.52 and not 3,381.52
okay.
for bi-weekly.
And then
What was the
what's
other
the
one?
next one?
The other discrepancy I found was under refuge foreman. It shows, it should be 2397 and on the report it shows 27.
Yeah, so Chris, on that, Mike asked Steve to raise the foreman. Steve, you can explain it better than I can.
Right, to make the refuse foreman's pay equal to the collections department foreman's pay.
So the foremen are all getting paid the same.
Hourly rate. Okay.
So was that placed in the budget before the budget was made, or is that after the budget's made? I'm sure, sorry.
I before our budget was made, we'd have to, I mean, go
The
ahead.
budget has, you know, not saying fluff in it, but it has,
Yeah.
you always put in a buffer in your budget, whether it be for wages or for anything else. And this according to Scott, I think at the last meeting, he said that these raises were easily fit within the budgeted amount for 2024 for salaries and wages.
Again, what we're looking to do is get the 6% for the employees across the board, correct?
Yes,
And we're not saying that we're going to ratify these numbers, because these numbers,
correct.
as Chris has stated and as some of us have discussed earlier, that there are some discrepancies.
Yes,
What we are approving or considering approving is the 6% across the board, not what these numbers say, correct?
correct.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Sure, I didn't know they were wrong. So,
Well, there's a couple discrepancies, and then I think, Chris, if you want us to, or want staff to follow up with the foreman question, we can do that too, okay? But like Holt said, right now, we're just across the board 6%, same as the city's doing on these, and we'll get the right numbers on the 9th.
So any other changes can wait until the 9th? Correct?
It should be made by the 9th, yeah.
It should be made by the 9th.
Yeah.
All right. So I will move to accept the resolution for a 6% increase from 2023 numbers.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Chris, do you,
Yes, opposed.
okay,
That's fine.
yep, okay.
Thank you.
So we have 3 for, 1 opposed, so the motion passes. All right. Steve, I'm gonna turn the updates on the projects over to you, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Milatovic, would you like to add anything at this, the beginning here?
No, I would not.
Okay. The next item is the U.S. Geological Survey Springland Avenue stream gauge. For some years now, we have contributed to the USGS to help pay for temperature monitoring. This is something we've talked about previously. It's something the fishermen like. Interestingly, this invoice was dated July, and they didn't send it to us until January 11th. I don't believe it requires board approval. It's under $10,000
Right, as a courtesy.
as a courtesy.
It's something we've done historically over the years
Right,
for
It's
tourism.
just required to monitor to some extent
Yeah.
the stream into which it discharges, to verify upstream and downstream any changes, which includes temperature.
Do we get reports from them, Mike, every time they go and do something at the gauge?
We have access to their database.
Okay, so we get that information automatic.
Yeah,
You can actually call it up on your telephone, Commissioner.
I thought I remembered us talking about that, but I wasn't sure.
All right, can I get a motion to, or is there any discussion? Sorry.
This
That's just for information.
purposes anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
you don't need a
That's
motion.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
All
you're
right.
fine.
Okay,
Sorry.
all right, keep going.
The next item is USGS's proposed agreement for October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2024, which is your federal fiscal year. This one is over $10,000. It raised our proposed contribution to
$12,755.
Yes, sir. I would recommend we move forward with it.
There was a letter from the USGS explaining that the previous price had been in place for a number of years and that they've held down the cost as best they could, but they're at the point now that they need to make the adjustment.
So, any discussion on this, gentlemen? Seeing that there's none, can I get a motion to approve the joint funding agreement through September 30th, 2024 with the U.S. Department of Interior, U.S. Geological Survey joint funding agreement for water resource investigation. Our contribution to that for the October 1st, 2023 to September 30th, 2024 would be $12,755.
So moved.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
The next item, 9B, is the Southeast Annex Area Sanitary Sewer Extension. We got several items here. The first is a professional service agreement for Charles Hendricks and Associates to do land surveying that's needed for Haas to move forward with design work.
More importantly for us to move forward with finalizing the documents for the clearing project, which due to the Indiana bat deadline, which Steve can talk to if you need to know
The last-
details, is coming up this spring. So if the project wants to be completed before the end of the year, the clearing has to be done before that Indiana bat deadline, which I think is April 1st.
Yeah,
And
can't cut any more trees.
so
on
to
April
keep
1st.
things moving, we need Mr. Hendricks' company to do the surveys for the easements that will be required for the project, so that then that can be incorporated, they can be incorporated into the Haas documents for the eventual construction other project.
Which, on the February 9th meeting, we'll be opening the bids on the tree clearing. So we need to move this along.
Yep.
And it's for not to exceed $17,400.
I will move to approve the professional services agreement with Charles Hendricks and Associates for a money amount not to exceed $17,400.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
The next professional service agreement on this project is for Soil Solutions, Inc. to perform wetland delineation.
They have to figure out where, if at all, there are wetlands that would interfere with the construction of the project. And these Soil Solutions Inc. is an environmental firm that does that type of work. And this contract is for them to come out, and there appear to be wetlands out there, as I understand from the engineers. Without somebody like this with the proper credentials, verifying it one way or the other and then delineating them, we don't know for sure. Then we have to refer that information, depending on what they find, to the Corps of Engineers and to IDEM for an evaluation to move forward. But again, time is of the essence because it needs to be incorporated into, maybe affect the design of the sewer system. We may, change the location based on the existence or not of a wetland.
So my question on this, and Jeff, you're free to answer this, but it seems like we're approving various different things because we have to tonight. But my question would be is we're going to be opening bids on tree clearing. What if the soil samples say where your present design is going to be or where the design is going to be? Well, be a wetland, so therefore we're going to have to move it anyway, but now we've already cut down these trees and expensed that money to cut down the trees. So what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Cutting the trees
Got it.
first because of the bat. And the wetlands issue is we need to know where they are, and clearing the trees through the wetland area will still put the line where the wetlands will be.
Okay,
There will be a mitigation process that happens.
got it.
Right now, we're anticipating it will be in lieu of program where we have to buy so many acres of wetland or put money in a bank,
Yeah.
probably familiar with that.
Jeff, I think it's worthwhile pointing out that we can cut trees in a wetland, we just can't take the stumps out.
Correct. We can fell the trees, and that's the way the contract that you're gonna look at, or we're receiving bids is written, to fell the trees, all of them, in the contemplated easements. We'll drop the trees. The ones that are outside the wetlands, we'll clear those, clear the stumps, fine grade. The ones in the wetland, we'll just leave there to be removed by others. Once the permits and the other jurisdictional agencies are on board.
Okay,
So,
that's what I wanted to.
Jeff, have you worked with this company, Soil Solutions Inc. before?
yes, they're very reputable. They do a lot of this in northwest Indiana.
I assume since they're based in Valpo that was the case. I've never worked with
Commissioner,
them.
I would add that 25 years ago, John McQuestion did my soil borings for my septic system.
So he's been doing it a long time.
Yes.
23 years ago, he did it for my house. And delineated the wetlands. He does, I represent, as you know, various municipalities. He does a lot of work in Northwest Indiana. And he's always been very competent in.
As long as we're on it, I brought some handouts for you. This is just 30,000 foot view, literally. You can see how small the drawing is. Back in December, you guys approved a contract for us to move forward with preliminary design. We've had a number of meetings with the team. I call the team Economic Development, Sanitary, Water, Michigan City Planning, and us to come up with the preliminary design routes. Those have been approved for preliminary design. You just approved the surveying for the property lines. We absolutely have to have those property lines in order to lay out the easements and the clearing properly. So that was a critical approval. We wouldn't be able to stake the easements for the clearing without that. The overview is the sanitary, and you've probably seen this in another document that was prepared, but the sanitary comes along the north of the industrial park, will run parallel to
We
the
got it in the back of our
okay.
proposal right now, so.
Come down the cemetery across the south property line,
It's basically
And then-
just this.
south of 20 parallel to right away with water and sanitary. So that's the project overview. This particular document that you're looking at, the blue is the annexed area. What makes it relevant to the sanitary district is the red line. That's the service area that we can reach physically, given the parameters of the elevations that we have right now.
Reached by gravity.
Reached by gravity, correct. The red boundary is the service area that we can get to. So that was really the purpose of presenting that to you. We've been pushing to get the clearing contract out because of the environmental considerations, and we're anticipating, due to the size of the project and wanting to be able to complete it by the end of the year, we're planning on 3 contracts. One will go out for the clearing. The second contract will go out for the north part, north of US 20. And then the third contract will be for the work south of US 20. The work south of 20 includes both the water line and the sanitary line. And there will be, you'll be glad to hear, I bet, that there's a lot of cost sharing between the water department and the sanitary district. One of the key things we would like to maybe get before you, and some kind of maybe even an okay or even a limit, is the end of the sanitary line up here. Near US 20, right into the corner of that parcel. We think legally we just need to get a manhole in to service that, this area up here.
Right. The gravity comes and then it drops, the land drops off. So if the people on the drop-off side of that one sewer service, they would have to put in their
Lift station.
pump station. And in preparation for that,
Have a manhole.
there's going to be a manhole at the end of our gravity sewer.
Yeah, so they can tie
Yeah,
it.
very common sense.
The next piece is down here by Autumn Creek. We're anticipating just encroaching into that parcel. And then really the question becomes is, does the district, and we can resolve this with staff, but I just wanted to let you know that right now, everything is planned to go to Autumn Creek, right in that corner, northeast corner of that parcel. And we'll need a decision if you want to extend that further westerly, southwesterly to the storage facility. So, I mean, that's that.
Wasn't it on the property line of the storage facility? The red?
It's close. The service, yeah, we're always trying to encroach as minimally as we can to be able to get service to the property. We have to be at the property.
Yeah. Okay.
But we can't take gravity any further, yes?
The answer to the question is you can take gravity further, but the cost to do so is prohibitive because you have to lower the grade coming this way is dropping off towards Trail Creek.
Right.
And to be able to get, so we'll never get to Trail Creek. We can get it another 100 foot or so, but at a very high price tag because you have to lower the whole system so much deeper. And the whole system on the order of 10,000 foot of sanitary pump that you're dropping down to pick up 100 foot, another 100 feet. And so the benefit cost isn't there.
Compared to a little pump system.
Yeah. And the benefit cost kind of, you lose it on the pump system. So, I just, I asked Steve, I says if it was okay, I wanted to sit with you guys at least face to face, and if there were any technical things on, from the board's perspective, that, so you had that opportunity to.
Can I just ask, I'm sorry, and you lost me a little bit in the very front end of this. So if Soil Solutions, we hired them to find out that we invade a wetland and the Army Corps of Engineers says we did, you say with what, money in a bank or something?
It's a land
There are
swap,
different-
Land swap it or?
There are different ways you can, quote, mitigate a damage to that you create to a wetland. Among them is you pay IDNR money. There's a rate schedule.
They've got huge wetlands that you can buy
Right.
equal amount in area. And to make
Yeah,
up
they've
for
got
it.
wetland banks, you can buy wetlands, and those wetland banks, there are various options. I don't foresee that there's going to be anything to do with the Corps of Engineers here because all of these are isolated, or if there are wetlands, they're isolated wetlands. And under that recent Supreme Court case, there's no jurisdictional for the Corps of Engineers. Now, IDEM still has, at least for the moment,
Years and years ago, we had to find a spot and we had to buy plants and trees.
And
They
maintain it
said,
for
we
5
don't,
years.
yeah, all of that, oh Lord, and then they came up with this in lieu of.
The only reason I ask all those questions in regards to that is because behind the airport, the reason why the runway, the airport is having designed to go over 20 now is because the back side of the airport, they felled a lot of trees back there, and then IDOT came in and basically, NDOT came in and said, no, you can't build back there because there was either a small species of a fish.
the IDNR, not
It was, I think it was NDOT and also DNR that came in and basically said together collectively, you can't build that way because.
Unless the fish are using our roadway, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, we felled a bunch of trees back there. We paid for all of that. And then all of a sudden, it probably was DNR that came in and basically said, you can't build a runway back there. And so that's where I'm trying to figure out, okay, if we do this, is there anything after we cut the trees down that, I know we can do a land swap. I've been involved in those before, so I get that. But just, if there's, besides the bat, anything else in there.
So there's no other choice but to run the utilities where they're shown.
Okay.
And so you don't
Right.
really have a choice. We either have
Okay.
to mitigate by doing planting,
Okay,
or you have to mitigate by doing it in lieu of.
okay,
And being very familiar with this area, we're not going to encounter that kind of situation.
okay, all right.
Right, Bruce? Keep you out of it.
either confirmed or denied.
Exactly. So, all right, so let's just go ahead and do the, there we have ask for a motion on the table for Soil Solutions Inc. to do the bore sampling in the area for not to exceed a fee of $10,000. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion's approved.
And it is a wetland delineation project, not a boring project, as Tim mentioned, correct?
Wetlands delineation.
Delineation.
There
So
will be test
please,
stations where they'll
We will do.
You shouldn't correct
We have
me.
boring.
I'm just gonna let you hang yourself.
There's a little boring problem.
It's been a long day.
It's not a boring project.
It is not a
Not a boring project, yeah.
But there will be boring, we don't
Boring
want
samples.
samples on the north side.
Okay.
The north part, but- so there will be
Some soil
more
sample.
proposals and that kind of thing forthcoming.
I didn't get the.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Stick around, because we may ask you to come back up again. All right, Steve.
Next three items are rights of entry for tree clearing. First one being with the Michigan City Aviation Board of Commissioners. I don't believe this requires a board action to ratify.
No.
Any of the three of these? Would be in
Where is their involvement, Steve?
the airport?
Yeah, but we're not near the airport, on at least the route that I saw.
Will help, Jeff?
I mean, because we're south of the railroad tracks. We're south of the railroad tracks and going south of Longmont Parkway.
I told you
The
to
airport's
don't
way.
walk away.
see this here. Let me see it the right way. Right here. This is airport property. And the water line comes down and around here.
So the water line and not the sewer.
Yeah, and we're coming back here, the water line, the water department does not want to go through NDOT right away here. And they want to minimize the amount of encroachment onto the railroad.
So they go to the narrowest part of the right of way.
The skinny part.
And that's where the runway's gonna come across eventually, isn't it?
Yeah, it comes, it's further to the east.
Yeah.
Unless they're gonna, I don't know about the runway project. Will they cross the railroad?
Yeah, it's
No,
gonna
it doesn't go that far south, but
Okay.
I think they will have some.
No, but you
flights out there.
you have to have FAA, enough area where it's,
Clear zone of some kind.
yeah, it's a no, yeah, it's a.
No-fly zone.
No, it's a fly zone, but it's, you can't
The
have
approach
buildings or
grade, yeah.
some. You have-
Glide slope.
Yeah, glide slope, thank you. Yeah.
I did forget, honestly, I forgot to mention one thing that's just absolutely critical as far as right of entries go. And that's the cemetery property. We have all of the parcels, everybody signed off, everybody except for the cemetery. The cemetery board, original meeting to be the 11th of this month. The cemetery board, somewhat of a state of disarray. They pushed the meeting to the 24th, and we sent out an email that says we need to know if we have access to
It's the
this
24th of February,
January. And
the
then,
24th.
then they pushed it to the 8th of February, which is one day before the 9th, when we want to open bids. We need to know before that. So they called a special meeting of the cemetery board to be on the 29th. Okay, the 29th. So it's kind of, we're pushing. We're absolutely pushing to get it out. And we've been calling it, all the pieces are falling in favor of the project so far. And it was, we kind of in office, it's like a house of cards, because any one piece that doesn't land and you don't get the job done, we don't start until October. So the cemetery is absolutely critical because we want to use an easement on the cemetery property. We don't have that secured yet. Should something go wrong with that,
Don't come here.
don't come back. If something goes wrong with that, we go like 4 steps backwards.
Yeah.
We can get past it, there's ways to get past it. We would have to, it's not optimal, it is not optimal, but we can do the work south of US 20. We have access to all those parcels, we can do that work. But it's just not optimal to do it that way.
Right, there's been preliminary communication, not by me, but members of the city staff, the mayor, and attorney, and I think you may have been involved with management, not with the board. The board has not been meeting. And they've indicated there shouldn't be any problem, but they still have to have official board action in order to approve the right of entry. So I don't believe we should be too concerned about
I think
final
we'll be done.
approval. It's gonna be done, it's just getting the board
Whatever.
to vote on it.
And we plan for what if scenarios, what if we don't, because it's not done until it's done.
Yeah, okay, so we don't need board action on this, it's just kind of informing us on it?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Okay, great, thank you guys.
Are we done?
We are,
There's the, Haas, I don't know if you want Jeff up here for it, but
Just curious.
I don't know how.
Yeah,
yeah,
the Haas,
I got it, I got it,
I know,
okay.
I was just saying that for Jeff's
This is the
purpose.
cemetery
address that.
operating.
Yeah, let's go ahead and finish
Cemetery board
the,
actually owns.
yeah, so we got the, Michigan, next one's the Haas. Go ahead, Steve.
Yes, Haas and Associates sent us a proposed amendment to their existing hourly professional service agreement to continue the things that you're doing. And Mr. Laughlin was suggesting we increase it from $50,000 approved last month by another $75,000 for a total of $125,000. I should be able to have that PSA for your approval on the 9th.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do is move it, right? Okay. All right.
Okay, next project.
Before you move on,
Yes, sir.
I would request that the board consider voting to approve the issuance of the request for bids for the tree clearing project, for which the bids would be received on February 9th. I don't believe that's been done yet. I checked the minutes of the last meeting and I thought we did it, but I didn't see it.
Yeah,
So I'm just requesting that the board, and it's just to allow the request for bids to go out. Obviously, you still control what comes in, you get to review and everything like that.
and those will be opened on the 9th, so can I get a motion to request for the bid issuance
So moved.
for the,
You know, as the attorney stated.
I'll second that.
all right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? No one's opposed, so as the attorney said it.
We call it the Phase 1 clearing contract.
Okay, the phase 1 clearing contract.
That's what I'll amend the motion
Thank you.
for the phase 1 clearing contract.
All right. Okay, Steve?
Next project is the 300 North and US Highway 421 sewer extension project
Thanks,
by the
Jack.
county.
Thanks, Jeff.
The sewer is functional now, the lift station has power. And we've been accepting the sewage from Love's Truck Stop so far. Quite possibly Harley Davidson as well. Both of these companies are being billed by the water department for water and sewer.
Can we forward a industrial waste survey to both Loves and the motorcycle place?
Yes.
Have we received it back? I haven't seen anything.
I'll check.
Okay. And we have to do a sewer use agreement with each one of those as well.
Yes.
We get back, once you evaluate the survey responses.
And we have to accept ownership of the sewer system from the county.
Right, and so that is, there's, in order for us to accept the sewer, you guys might remember when we did it with the Franciscans, we not only want the sewer, but we wanted the easements upon which the sewer and the pump station sit, so we can access them. Well, there are 35 easements related that the county got for constructing the sewer. There are various homeowners all along the, I guess you call it the east-west route, what I would call the east-west route. Anyway, that requires 35 separate assignments that will have to be prepared, and the attorney for the County Redevelopment Commission is a gentleman named Guy Martino, and he's preparing those. And once they get prepared, I'll of course review them, but that's why, one of the reasons it's taking so long. And then for every entity that hooks up, whether it's a person or a business, we have to have the usual sewer use agreement with them. And then if they're businesses, we have to obtain what they call industrial waste survey, even though obviously they're not industries when you're motor shocker service. But the way EPA has most recently interpreted that or decreed that is that if it's something other than a residence, you have to get this industrial waste survey prepared by them, by the prospective connector, so you can verify that nothing bad is getting into your sewer. So anyway, that's one of the, as Steve said, as far as I know, and I guess John could verify the project's constructed. It's just the paperwork that is needed to get done. But once it gets done, it'll be brought before you guys, for approval and everything.
Okay. All right. Any time frame on any of that paperwork?
This county is not at my disposal.
Got it.
Commissioner.
Okay, I just didn't know if you was in communication saying, hey, we'll get that over there next week or whatever, so I just didn't know.
Mr. Martino told me he thought it would take at least a month
Okay.
to do.
Okay. All right.
Okay, next item is laboratory structural evaluation. I have been corresponding back and forth with West Janey about getting a proposal from them for implementing the bid process, the bid evaluation process, construction administration and inspection. Mr. Crowe has promised me that we should have that in time for the February 9th meeting, which time I anticipate preparing a PSA to continue retaining them. Okay.
How has the building looked through our heavy sloppy rain 2 weeks ago and our freezing thawing now?
It's no change. Keep seeing. Okay.
Thanks.
All right. One of the last items I've got on the agenda, Commissioner Smith, you requested that I invite Sue Lehman, our laboratory manager and quality assurance manager, to say a few words about laboratory accreditation and why we should move forward with it or not move forward with it.
That would be great. Hey, Sue, here to speak, Sue?
What do you want to know?
Can you come up here, Sue, please?
Yeah, wheelhouse.
So, Sue, the reason I asked you to come over is because when Holt and I visited the lab, when all of the issue with the lab ceiling happened, and we were looking around, we kind of got into a discussion about, the lab accreditation.
Right.
And I wanted you to come here and just talk about a little bit about what you guys do already and why we should move towards possibly doing it the way you suggested and the way Steve suggested, and not having to file the paperwork, because you guys go through a lot of the same things anyway. It's just a lot of additional time and effort to qualify it the way it is
It's
for.
mostly costly.
Yeah, and also the type of accreditation we're doing, I assume that it's more for commercial use of labs.
It's to help them be competitive in the market.
Okay.
And it's an international standard, so they would need that more than to be competitive.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's a quality assurance.
Okay.
So,
So if we were to go back to the way that you and Steve had suggested that we do the accreditation, now that is by, Steve, can you help me out here, please? Because I'm
you're talking about IREA, the Indiana
Yes.
Water Environment Federation.
Yeah.
They're associated with the National Water Environment Federation. It's just the Indiana chapter.
Okay.
And the laboratory committee is a subcommittee from that.
Okay.
And they offer a lab audit, lab award. It's not an accreditation. It's just an award. And they come into your lab, they spend a few hours, and they have a form you fill out with, do you do this, that, and the other. It just covers basic good lab practices, and then they're gone, and then you get a little sticker for your plaque at the end of the summer with their award that they have at their conference.
Okay. So then, I guess my question is, if we decide to not do the laboratory and quality assurance from the national, from the international level, what we had previously done,
Right.
because it's such a rigorous requirement. I remember you showing me the 3-inch binder or whatever. How were we assured that our accreditation, or who do we get accredited from? Is it the state, or what falls in place of this type of accreditation?
That just falls away. It doesn't replace anything that we're not doing already. The EPA annually has us do performance testing,
Okay.
and that's part of our permit. We're on year 43, actually.
Okay.
We get blind samples, we order them, get them, test them, send the results in, and then those go to both the EPA and the state. And that's what the permit does.
Okay.
So we do that. Everything else is determined by our permit itself. Our permit tells us that every method we have to use is referenced in 40 CFR, the Federal Register. That gives us choices with methods. We pick a method, and that method comes with its own quality control. It tells you what to do. It's all written out. You just have to chase it down and then document it, which is pretty much what we have. I don't see anything day to day changing.
Okay.
Honestly.
Yep.
Because what we're doing is good laboratory practices. The only drawback I can see with IWEA, and I hate to sound like holier than thou, but I have some issues with their audits. They're volunteers, and one year they came in and they understood what we were doing, and we got their audit. The next year, another auditor came in and didn't understand what we were doing and said, well, you're not excellent. Okay, I'm sorry, but we're also accredited, so it's not exactly the same. There's a little bit differences, but they're trying. They do a pretty good job, actually. It's close. It's just not quite as detailed. It's the difference between a 2.5-day audit and a 3-hour audit. So, they cover some things, but not every test. So, it helps, but, it's not the same. It's not the same in the respect that you wouldn't use it the same way, as far as that goes. It doesn't, the state and the EPA is not preference with either of those. They don't have a preference for accreditation, nor do they with, whatever awards you have. The IWEA award's been going on since the 90s. We did some back in the 90s, and it was okay, but not necessary, for our purposes. Right now, what we're doing is probably, ITEM doesn't have any problem with this. I know they came through this summer, and I assume everything was satisfactory. I never heard.
Laboratory was satisfactory.
Okay, yeah. So ITEM's happy with what we're doing.
So I guess my question, and one of the questions I wanted to just kind of talk about is, do we need either one of these accreditations? If we've got and that's what I was getting to, why I asked all the questions.
Right.
Because do we need, with the EPA and our permit and everything else that we have, do we need to do the IWEA accreditation? Because that was suggested. We're not accreditation, but the whatever you want. An award.
Not particularly, not for any reason that we need to, but it's also a freebie. The only reason I would say to be involved with that is it's a very good resource for contact with other labs. If you have a question, and I've contacted them before, if I had a question, I'll ask somebody, what do you guys do when this happens? Because there's not a lot of information specific to this type of lab work. So, you're asking your fellow lab people what they do. But as far as the award goes, they need some work on it, at least in my opinion. That's because I've been through probably a dozen of those, brain-numbing 3-day audits. And those will teach you how to be it's taught me very well how to think very critically.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, if I may add, Sue has built a fantastic quality assurance program for the laboratory.
Well, thank you.
Well, that's what I was trying to do, get her
Yeah.
to toot her own horn, but she won't. She didn't want to come up here. So I want the public to know how well our lab is doing.
Yeah, it's helped with informational, but I think mostly it's just the methods. You've got everything down, and we're pretty pretty solid. I mean,
You got controlled SOPs, you got...
well, yeah. In records, what an accreditation, what they are doing is when you have a sample come in, you are able to recreate that entire test by going to the lot numbers you use for the chemicals, the numbers you're using for the equipment, the lot numbers of the equipment. What piece of equipment did I use to get this answer 3 years ago? I could tell you what I used, when I used it, who did it, when they did it, was it in calibration, when was it calibrated? All that stuff is background. That's what we keep track of. Would I stop doing that? Probably not. It's maintenance at this point. It's not recreating it. So, will it keep rolling?
So sounds like just continuing to do our accreditation every year is not really bringing a financial benefit to our customers.
No.
Costs us almost $10,000 a year.
Well, yeah, I'd say for the next, if you go through the next cycle to 2025, it's gonna run about 20,000.
And to maintain our accreditation, we are like the only accredited lab, to my knowledge,
Municipal.
municipal.
Right, there's a reason for that, it's expensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there any commercial benefits to the lab currently in helping other
Yeah.
labs? I mean, didn't we help the county do something
Yeah,
temporarily?
we might be doing that this summer too, by the way.
Yes,
But that accreditation didn't allow us to do that. We can
No.
still do that, correct?
No,
Yes.
no, because our test itself is done according to the method. They're interested in the method.
Yeah.
And the method is what we do it as.
And you have that booklet
Well, that.
too.
That's the one that I was referring to, the green
Everything's
binder.
electronic now, so all I can do is show you my computer, but, yeah, we'll probably be doing the same thing this year for them. I don't think county's got their lab up yet.
And we are not gonna advertise lab services to outside.
No.
we never have.
No, and here's the
And
thing
that's just.
about the accreditation, when you have a project, you have to ask me and I have to tell you, well, no, I don't have the supplies to the personnel, so no, sorry, we're not doing that today. Which I think is very weird. They almost stepped in between administration and us. We follow the standard, which means we decide, despite Michael had a little difficulty in that, he didn't quite understand how come I could say no to him. I said, well, because you wanted me accredited, here we go, this is how this works. But for the most part, no, it's not something we need for the state.
And there's no benefit to any, that you know of in the past, any grants or anything that qualifies us for if we are accredited? Nothing has come about since.
We don't really do things like that.
Yeah.
Or what they
That
call
was a
us.
question from the mayor, I believe.
Yeah,
who
they
was
call
here.
us a captured lab. We're captured, we're internal to this facility. We really don't do outside work. I mean, what we're doing with the beach sample testing is.
That's what I was gonna ask you about that. Does that fall underneath the?
No. As long as we're
Okay.
using the proper method, then they're good.
We did that for years and years
Before that, right,
Before we
yeah.
were accredited.
Yeah.
There's no reason we can't continue that.
So, yeah, we'll do that, and then, like you said,
How
we're
they're
gonna,
part of our district anyway.
might do the county again too, just like last year, so.
I thought they were back up and running.
They're not.
Not that good, huh?
They're not yet.
Go ahead, Chris.
And I just thought this.
Since we're, if we are accredited, do we get, and since Charlie's here, do we get any insurance break at all? Being
I
accredited?
asked that. He didn't
We're
say.
accredited for crying out loud.
No. Yeah, I mean,
Those are,
With that
loss
safety.
experience speaks for itself, for the most part, so.
That was a no.
Yeah, that was a nice polite way of saying no.
at least we didn't get all 6 declining us. Sue, I just, from the board's perspective, you know, when we went up and talked to you, you know, we think we have a stellar staff up there. We really
good
appreciate
staff.
everything you guys do, you know, and thank you for your hard work.
Yeah.
And that's why I really wanted you to come today to toot your own horn. I mean, I expected you would, you know, I mean, it's a great
I've been in
operation.
the lab for a long time, that's where I'm happy.
So really appreciate everything from
Well, I
the
appreciate your
standpoint.
appreciation, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you please pass it on?
So,
Yeah.
I will.
question,
I will.
just a question here. Do we have to take a board vote, or you just discontinue it? What do you guys do?
We just don't re-up.
Yeah.
Okay, and we don't have to do anything on that, okay?
No.
All right,
But I will say, I need to absolutely know you're gonna stop doing this, because what happens is, I've been told that for like 4 years now. And then the 11th hour, it's, yeah, we've decided to redo this. And
Well,
then
but-
I'm playing catch up with paperwork for months.
that's why I'm asking for if we need board approval on this. I mean, we're happy to do something to say, you know,
Just
just,
ask for a call to discontinue accreditation.
yeah,
And then
okay,
you just
so,
don't pay your membership fee.
Yeah.
all right, so I'm gonna
You're
ask,
pulling out of it.
the board to, and do you do that? Does Mike do that? Or who says we're not gonna do
One of
that?
Mike and I both have authority on the CAB portal with A2LA to do that.
All right,
I would defer to Mike because he's
all right.
general manager.
Yes, and we definitely would like to discontinue
Okay.
our relationship with A2LA.
All right, so I'm going to ask for board approval to go ahead and discontinue our relationship with A2LA accreditation, or just, okay. And direct the lab to no longer use that accreditation.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
There's your official
There you go.
word on it.
All right. All right, great.
Thank you, Sue.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Very
thank you.
much.
Congratulations again.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, staff reports are next. We'll just point out, Jordan Hines, Chief Operator's Process Control Coordinator annual report indicates that we processed almost 7.8 million pounds of solids to the farm. Mike, I would ask you to point out the fact that wastewater treatment plant has been operating within permit for the whole year.
Yes, I will attest to that. We've exceeded the required level of efficiency,
We do better than it's required in our permit,
which
and otherwise.
we pride ourselves on.
Mr. Gorska has a very nice annual report here. He did a lot of work this year. Tony Basil also did a ridiculous amount of work over the year with the city and with us and others. Maintenance, 616 work orders for 2023. Lift station work orders, 120. Vehicle and equipment orders, work orders, 302. And total work orders generated is 2,110. That's a lot of maintenance, gentlemen. Barbara has a nice little annual report showing how many building permits that we reviewed over the years. In 2023, it was 38 lateral tap permits issued. That's down a little bit because I think construction slowed down slightly in 2023. It's mainly down from 2021 simply because a huge number of those were connected with the double track project. And finally, we think we've got everybody's sewer reconnected on the double track project. There are a couple of outliers out here that Nick D stepped up and made us whole on those.
Okay.
If there's any questions, I would be glad to try to answer them.
Steve, you were telling me earlier today, you had your mother report, but you said something to the effect of, what was it, 27 permits, or what was the, for what you did in this year?
Yeah, and Arbor and I both looked at, it's not just lateral tap permits. When somebody wants to add a garage, or do a patio, a house addition, or a new house, those are building permits. We actually have sign-off authority with the city on each and every building permit that comes through permitting. And I just want to be sure that we're not letting somebody build a garage over a public sewer,
But we appreciate you, making sure that that's not happening, so thank you for your report too.
Yes, sir.
For everything you've done. Okay.
Just one quick shout out and appreciation to Jordan Hines, John Gorska, and Tony Basil, who gave monthly reports as well as annual reports. I just wanted to give that a big thank you to those guys. That really gives a lot of information to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you.
Jim?
Yes, as mentioned by Jeff, in reference to this annexed area sewer project, we have had 2 meetings so far, and those include myself, of course, Steve, Skylar, York, and Clarence. They kind of provide input from themselves, and of course the mayor, and then Chris Johnson from the water department. So these projects are going to be interrelated to some extent. So we want to coordinate, make sure that everything goes along smoothly. In addition, as mentioned by somebody in the board plus Jeff, that there are going to be certain situations where there will be the same work will benefit both the water department and sewer department. So I'm in the process, and myself and the water department, preparing an agreement for cost sharing. And in essence, at this point, dollars are unknown, exact locations of where are unknown. It will be based on engineering, and then the 2 parties kind of have to agree on the cost sharing. Some of those shared costs have already been incurred in the form of engineering services. But anyway, I just want to let you know that come February 9th, there will be a written agreement for we asking you guys to approve for cost sharing. It won't have dollars in it. I'll just talk about the process of getting it done. Other than that, I don't really have anything. I've been monitoring, as I mentioned earlier, the status of that 421 300 North project, and it's again tied up in the paperwork. There's no negative feedback from anybody. It's just getting it done. So that at some point will be completed.
Okay.
Okay, is there, anybody, anything else?
Any questions at all from Jim? No. All right. Thanks, Jim.
Sure.
All right, so before we adjourn, we're going to move the approval and allowance of revenue and tax levy claims to February 9th at the special meeting. And I've talked to Jim about that, and that's okay to do, correct, Jim?
Correct.
So any old business?
One thing with regards to something that, an approval that we made on that 6% across the board, since Scott's not here and I couldn't ask him, I'll ask his supervisors. If you could have Scott send the commissioners a copy of the updated dollar amounts in detail via email to each one of us and Rachel as well, so we can have that to look at prior to our 9th meeting, and so we can assure that it is done and will be done prior to that meeting, or as soon as he gets that information sent to the controller. I don't know if he's going to deliver it, hand deliver it, or somebody's going to hand deliver it, or if it's going to go via email, but if he could print that or send that to each one of us so we could have that information to know that it is done and done correctly with the proper amounts.
There should be a final revised resolution. And it should also have a number, of course, but with the corrected amounts that you guys are talking about, that you would then approve at the February 9th meeting, assuming it's accurate. So that there's documentation with the actual numbers in it that has your signatures on it, verifying that they're approved.
Okay.
Jim, I would suggest that I get that put together this week or early next week, because it's already approved. It doesn't take a board action to sign it. There'll be a place for you to sign, Commissioner Smith, a place for you to sign, Commissioner Holt. And
well, there was an issue. There was an issue or question raised as to the foreman for the, I don't remember which department. Refuse department.
Yeah.
And as I understood, there was not a decision by the board to approve that increase, only to approve the 6%. That was what I read from the conversation.
Yes.
So if the management wants to have that increase for the foreman, it has to be in that new resolution, and then that resolution has to be approved by the board as amended.
And previously, we had any changes that had been done on any resolution clearly spelled out for us. So we don't have to seek our calculators and do it. If there are changes, if they could just be, yellowed at our meetings to give us the idea of what is being changed. Because until I went all the way through and others went all the way through, we didn't see that foreman change and we're aware of it. So if there is a change in the future, if we could please make those much more apparent to each of us on our board copies.
yes,
Right,
Commissioner.
and I believe that the fleet manager position is supposed to be added as well for February 9th.
Right, the resolution, correct, the resolution. So what we have on tap for February 9th is the corrected salary resolution. We have the vacation pay, and we have longevity pay. And also the fleet manager position, and then also the org chart that needs to be done. So all of those need to be done for the February 9th meeting.
Yes, sir.
And
Sent to us
then I would
before the February 9th meeting.
yeah, sent to us
Yeah.
well in advance. And the other thing is that Scott needs to be, since Scott's not here today, comment. Steve, I would ask you to work with Scott in making sure that those numbers are all correct on the salary resolution. And also, and Mike, you need to be involved in that too as the manager. And then
Absolutely.
the
Financial reports,
the financial reports, Scott said that he's gonna have those.
right, for February 9th.
Right, but what I'm looking for also is the, making sure that, with Scott, when reconfirming with him that we have the money for the fleet manager position to be created.
And the increased cost of the foreman.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
Is there anything else lingering with regards to the salary resolution of any specific individual or individuals that we know of that needs to be addressed or clarified that we know of?
Well, so there's not one specifically I can think of. I am pursuing some clarity on the human resources assistant, for one, as far as there was some conversation before about compensation. And I'm meeting with our human resources person, Ms. George, for some conversation, and I expect we'll have something for you for the night, well in advance for your perusal.
Okay.
Great.
So if you look, let's do any new business.
One thing, I guess, new business for me, and maybe it's old business, but I just want to remind Sanitary District that NDOT will be doing the HMA resurfacing of US 12 from the Michigan state line to Mount Baldy come fiscal year 2025. If we have any sewers that cross under or go along the right of way or whatever, we should investigate all those now for any needing replacement. So our vibratory rollers from NDOT don't beat the hell out of our pipes before the roadway's done. So let's take a look at those. If we can get them all televised, if we have recently televised all the sewers and know the standing of those sewers, they'll look in good shape, great. But if we see any problems, we need to address that before there's new pavement that goes over the top.
So that's from state line to Mount Baldy.
State line to Mount Baldy is the first contract. That'll happen in 2025. The next contract, which is the county line section, and then east won't be until 2031, I think.
Commissioner Smith, Indiana's on annual fiscal years? Or is it like federal fiscal years?
NDOT?
Yes.
NDOT is July 1. Yeah.
The state fiscal year, which is different.
It is. Yep. All right, so before we adjourn, I just want to make sure that everyone is okay to go to attend the special meeting at 4 p.m. on February 9th. Does any of the commissioners have any issue with that? Jim, are you good?
Yes.
And then Mike and Steve?
Yes.
Rachel, can you? Okay, thank you. So we'll start that promptly at 4 p.m. here. We're going to be opening the bids for the tree clearing for the annex sewer. We have finishing up the financial reports, organizational chart, fleet manager position, and then also the previous things that we just mentioned a minute ago. And then also the amendment number 1 to the PSA Haas Associates design for the annex area of the sewer. And then after the special meeting on February 9th, we will have our next regular meeting on Wednesday, February 28th, 2024, 4 p.m., also in this room. So, saying that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Holt, is there any other business?
Just a comment.
Yeah, please.
For that second, if I could.
Yeah.
I would ask, well, first of all, the board, the entire board, on behalf of the entire board, we thank the entire district and staff and everybody for their efforts throughout the course of this year. It's been a challenging, tumultuous, ups and downs, and your work has not gone unnoticed by this board. And when we thank you. Every opportunity that, or every issue that has come up, we have to look at it as an opportunity and come together and recognize it and come together and figure out a way to solve it. Anything we're behind on, we need to address it with a magnifying glass and get it caught up, whatever it may be. Things that we've omitted or forgot, we need to address them and not let them linger. That's the way we can grow the best, the quickest, most efficient way. So if we're behind on something, let's give it the focus that it deserves, regardless of the reason or the person or issues that have happened leading up to that. We need to get it up to date, fixed, and consistent in a way that we all can be much more proud and less stressed out about. So if the shoe fits, wear it. But it needs to be improved, some things. And it's just an opportunity. An opportunity. Every mistake, every issue is an opportunity to learn something and fix it and give it the necessary attention. So just wanted to have that to say. If anyone else has anything that can be generalized without pointing any fingers, I think it should be said.
Well said.
Okay.
Thank you.
Admittedly improved.
All right, anything else, gentlemen? If not, I echo what Holt just said, and want to thank every one of the staff for all their hard work in 2023. And let's make 24 a good year. So, thank you. And with that, can I get a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.
We're out.
This is